Today I'm going to be talking about cultural rights in Canada, or as many would argue, the lack thereof. Now, if you look at Michael Ignatieff's work, he presents two metaphors that describe our rights in society. The first is the billiard ball reference. Ignatieff says that everyone should just simply blend into the green felt of the pool table we live on, and we should all be uniformly made billiard balls, smoothed out and identical. This metaphor does not recognize individuality, and to be honest, the concept almost sickens me. Then Ignatieff pulls out another metaphor, the idea that society is like a patchwork quilt, where individuals and societies hold their own. Canada's quilt consisting mainly of French, English, and Native, constructing a colorful metaphor of society's members expressing their individuality while accepting and acknowledging that of others. Now, this idea is perceived much better in my mind than the previous metaphor, and minorities enjoy the concept of the quilt as well, including French Canadians, as the quilt would allow Quebecois natives to express their culture and contribute to Canada's identity as they should. Now, Ignatieff displays two very different visions of society, but I take them both with a grain of salt, because throughout his work he also compares the rights of French Canadians, a French-speaking minority among a predominantly English country, to the stripped rights of Aboriginal societies in Canada. A comparison not even on the same playing field. We're talking people arguing for their right to speak their desired language, compared to an entire population being stripped of their rights, who, by the way, founded the country that those fighting their rights to speak French are standing upon. Then we bring in another point of view through the work of Charles Taylor. Now, Taylor has me a bit torn. Some of his points make sense, but I find the extent to which he describes them to make me question myself. Let me explain. Taylor examines the outcome of a society begging for recognition of one's particular group or culture. He examines issues surrounding multicultural education, cultural independence, and feminism. And it's highlighted throughout Taylor's work that everyone desires to be recognized because one's identity partially relies on how others perceive us. He's trying to convince readers through his paper that equal recognition amongst a population leads to a healthy, functioning society, where groups can recognize the benefits that other cultures offer and can contribute to a country's identity. Which, don't get me wrong, I agree with 100%. Everyone deserves to be recognized, and everyone deserves to be acknowledged for what they can offer society. However, the extent that Taylor goes to say that recognition plays such a prominent role in building one's identity makes me wonder if I would define myself otherwise had I been recognized differently throughout my life. I really don't think I would. The claim Taylor makes that discrimination can stunt someone to grow to their full potential, and believes that inequality can emotionally alter who a person is viable, but in my opinion a little over-dramatized. Now, maybe it's hypocritical for me to say this because I'm a white female, and I'll be first to admit I'm probably blind to much of the cultural oppression that surrounds me. Taylor's idea of cultural rights gears his arguments more on a global scale. He brings to light the example of the Zulus, a population culturally discriminated against. Zulus were denied human equality through European arrogance. This makes me think about the way Europeans basically walk through Aboriginal communities in Canada, not even giving them recognition for what they can offer. You can see Canada is on the verge of the extinction of cultural rights if you take into account any arguments presented by the authors. In no way are all Canadians uniform billiard balls. Equally, in no way do all Canadians feel free to express themselves fully in society and stand the ground to build Canada into a diverse patchwork quilt. It's even safe to say that Canadians are denied the recognition Taylor argues we all as individuals require to build our own identity. But hear this. Canada is home to millions of immigrants that have contributed to the multicultural society we live in today. And obviously this needs some work, and in no way should any society be oppressed and discriminated upon because of their culture. But trying to build a Canadian culture and fighting for one's rights literally on top of the same land that Aboriginal societies have been denied expression of their culture. To try to create a culture on top of one that's barely even acknowledged is hypocritical and sickening. Freedom of cultural expression and rights is great, but what's not right is fighting for one's culture while simultaneously dismissing the cultural rights of the societies that founded the country that gives you the freedom to express yourself. Cultural rights in Canada depend on acceptance from one culture to another, whether it's French Canadians, Aboriginals, or the many cultures brought in by immigration. Canada has a long way to come, and if we don't start acknowledging the problem now, cultural rights could become even more oppressed in the future.